Hey, what's up everyone? It's Jeremy Kruis here. I'm going to give a quick tutorial in this video about sound, what I've learned about sound. I'm not a sound expert, but I have learned a few tips about adjusting sound especially for YouTube videos and like interview audio. So I'll be teaching you a little bit about EQ, compressor and limiter, and de-esser. So I'll just give a few basic tips about these things. Hopefully you learn something. I'm going to be showing you in Final Cut, but I know you can do this in Adobe Premiere and also in DaVinci Resolve in the Firelight tab and almost any other editing software also. So the mic I'm going to be using is the Boya MM1, and this is like a $20 microphone. So it's a really cheap microphone. So I'll show you how you can adjust it to make it just a little bit better. Of course, the quality is ultimately going to depend on the microphone, but there are a few adjustments you can make to make it sound just a little bit better. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the first tip is you're going to want to be wearing headphones for this or have really good speakers, or else you might not hear that much of a difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about EQ. If your levels are kind of low, you're going to want to just increase your computer volume and then go to where I can change the settings of the EQ and pull up the EQ. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a high pass filter, and that is when you cut out the low frequencies. I believe that's correct. Again, I'm not an audio expert, but this is what I've learned. Basically, because your voice doesn't even register in these frequencies, so might as well cut them out if there's any low hum in the room. And then also we're going to do a low pass filter. So cut out all the high frequencies because your voice doesn't register here too. So if there's any hissing or high pitched tones in the room, you can cut those out. So that's the first thing. So the next thing we're going to do is listen for frequencies that sound really bad and then drop those down a little bit. And in order to do that, we're going to use these different frequency markers, and we're going to make them a little bit thinner. Sorry, I don't know what the technical term is for this, but basically thinner like this so that it's like a thinner frequency. So about there. And then what we're going to do is look around the frequencies while the audio is playing. So I'll just go ahead and play it, and then we'll look for frequencies that sound really bad. Okay, here we go. So hopefully my voice is giving a good example of what you can hear on the EQ, on the compressor, and on the de-esser. And here we go. So right here sounds pretty bad. Talking like I went to the seashore. So I'm going to lower that just a bit. There, and someone was selling them. Again, you're not going to want to make super drastic adjustments. So let's use this to find another frequency that sounds bad. So, well, Sandy was the one that told me that I could buy seashells from Sherry, but then Sherry wasn't there, so I had to find another person named Sally.
Let's use this one.
Sally was selling seashells by the seashore, but I couldn't seem to find Sally. So when I did end up finding Sally, I told her, "How much do your seashells cost?" And she told me, "What are you talking about? I don't sell seashells by the seashore." And then I went, "What? How could that be?" And then so right there, these two are the worst sounding to me, so I brought those down just a little bit. And let's see what it sounds like with the EQ on and off. Let's start with it off. The levels are going to be a little bit lower with the EQ on because I dropped frequencies, but let's try to listen just to the overall sound of it. So this is with it off. So hopefully my voice is giving a good example of what you can hear on the EQ, on the compressor, and on the de-esser. And here we go. I'm just going to keep on talking like I went to the seashore, and then I saw some seashells. So there you go. You can hear a little bit of a difference. It sounds a little bit clearer. All right, let's move on to the compressor. Sorry, I don't know like the super technical terms for doing all this stuff, but hopefully just from watching, you get a sort of an idea. So in your audio effects, you're gonna search for compressor, and then let's drag that on. And already it has a default setting, and what a compressor does is it lowers the peaks so that it matches the rest of your audio. And already the default settings are pretty good for this, but I'll tell you kind of what I've learned. So ratio around 2 2.5 to 1 is like a common ratio, so I just keep it at that. Threshold, this is at the point at where you want the effect to start working, at what level of audio you want it to start working. So at negative 16.5, that's fine. Your makeup, this is your makeup gain. Basically, you can adjust your levels here, and that's what I usually do with the compressor, is I adjust my levels. And then over here in the compressor, you usually have a limiter as well. And what a limiter does is it limits your audio levels to not peak. And here it's at negative 0.2. I usually like to have it at negative 0.5. So no audio levels are going to go above negative 0.5. And so let's see where the audio is peaking right now. So hopefully my voice is giving a good example of what you can hear on the EQ, on the compressor, that's pretty good, actually, and on the de-esser. And here we go. So I'm just going to keep on talking like I went to. So that's a very basic compressor tip, but yeah, this is basically your gain. So you can increase your gain, decrease your gain, but it was at what, 13.5. Maybe 14 would be fine as well. Threshold is at negative 16, so any levels above negative 16.5 are going to be affected by the compressor, and the ratio 2.5 to 1. So that's how much it's going to decrease the levels of your peaking, of your peaks. And then the last thing is going to be the de-esser. So let's search for de-esser. I'm going to drag that on. And what the de-esser does is it softens your S's. So your S's don't sound too strong. And because sometimes if you listen to someone with very harsh S's, it can get really tiring on your ears. So the compressor kind of decreases your S sounds. So let's see how this works. I'm just going to keep on talking like I went to the
So right now it's just on the default settings.
There, and someone was selling
actually
them,
it's at 0 right now, so let's try to decrease the S's to like.
But Sandy was the one that told me.
Well, let's see what it sounds like if I just max it out.
Sandy. So, well, Sandy was the one that told me that I could buy seashells from Sherry.
So you can kind of hear there that the S's kind of turn into THs. We don't want it that strong, so I usually like to have it around 9 or 10 because it just softens S's just a tiny bit.
But then Sherry wasn't there, so I had to find another person named Sally. Now Sally was selling seashells by the seashore, but I couldn't seem to find Sally. So when I did end up finding Sally.
So yeah, that's basic de-esser. That's what a de-esser does. You can play with the frequencies. So this is because with women and men or different voices they say their S's in different frequencies. So you can adjust that. And then also sensitivity, etc. But that's just a very basic overview of the de-esser. And so now we have better sounding audio. It might be just a little bit of an but it does sound better. So here, let's listen to it with the effects on and off.
If it was Sally or if it was Sandy. But Sandy was the one that told me that I could buy seashells from Sherry. But then Sherry wasn't there, so I had to find another person named Sally. Now Sally was selling seashells by the seashore, but I couldn't seem to find Sally. So when I did end up finding Sally, I told her, "How much do your seashells?"
All right, so that's it. Hopefully you can see a difference there and learn some tips from this just by watching. So hopefully now you can be comfortable to play with the EQ, the compressor, and the de-esser tools.
All right, guys, I hope you learned something from that. Let me know what you thought, and make sure to check out my other videos too on the channel if you're looking for any more tutorials or just freelance film behind the scenes or anything like that. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys next time.
We're running into the wind, and then we're running back from the wind in backward.